early Week 10 waiver. Let's dive on into a few of the important names. We'll kind of go position by position. As you guys know, I will dive in even more in depth on Tuesday at 7 p.m. But starting at the top with some running backs, Keaton Mitchell has to be at the top of the list. 9 carries, 138 yards, and a touchdown on the day. He had that 40-yard touchdown. Look, as fast as can be. And we know he's the second fastest back in this class behind only Achane and Jahmyr Gibbs had the next fastest 40-yard time. He lit up the entire preseason. He was a guy we were talking about weeks ago as a waiver wire stash, and he got a little dinged up again. But this was why. He was a shot out of a cannon type of player. He also had a 60-yard run later in the game, too. And sure, it's a messy situation. Gus Edwards definitely the lead back. Justice Hill somehow still saw 13 carries. But I imagine Keaton Mitchell, looking as good as he did, will start to eat into that Justice Hill workload. The only other running backs of note, he is certainly the priority. But Antonio Gibson, we talked about, had 5 catches, 42 yards through the air, in addition to 34 yards on the ground on 6 carries. So a nice yard per clip there. 11 opportunities. That was his highest of the season. It seems to be earning the touches, too. When he gets them, he's doing pretty well with them. So maybe Gibson's role will continue to grow, especially with this defense looking so much worse. They might need that pass-catching type of back even more moving forward. I just want to shout out Jerick McKinnon, 30% rostered. He had a touchdown today. It is that time of the year where the Chiefs are going to be closing out the season, and we start to see Jerick McKinnon come out of his cave and help his fantasy owners down stretch runs. We've seen it before, and it's worth just maybe getting ahead of the game here. Should an injury happen to Pacheco, or just it's Jerick McKinnon time, it's December, time for him to take back over this backfield. We've totally seen it happen before. It could happen here again. That wraps up our running backs. Moving to wide receivers, and I'd say Keaton Mitchell is the number one priority unless Tank Dell is out there in your waiver wires, still out there in 53% of leagues, just 47% rostered, 11 targets, 6 catches, 114 and 2 touchdowns, another 20-plus point day. He's now had 3 of his 6 full games go for 20 or more points. The kid's a stud. I mean, he had that, I don't know if you saw the end of the game there, Truth, but that catch he made on the sideline to put them in position to win the game and then to catch the game winner right after, like, the guy's got balls, and so does DJ Stroud. This game is, that team is just so fun to have pieces of. And Noah Brown, too, 2% rostered, 6 targets, all 6 of them caught for 153 and a touchdown, a really nice 75-yard catch and score to open the game. This is probably more of the anomaly here. And again, most of that came on just one catch, but that was about half his production. He still had 5 for 75 beyond that one. And Robert Woods has been out. This has kind of opened the door for the much more explosive Noah Brown, who made plays with the Cowboys whenever he was used. Definitely on the lower priority of things, certainly well behind Tank Dell, and also behind my next guy here, Quentin Johnston, 30% rostered. But Josh Palmer, who's been playing really, really well this year, had to be placed on the injured reserve, will miss at least 4 games. I don't think you can go toss Johnson in your lineup this week. You probably don't even have to because it's Monday night, and you probably had your players play at this point. Facing the Jets, I wouldn't expect a ton to happen here, but he's going to have every opportunity to show why he was a first-rounder, to show why Brandon Staley called him the best player on the field when he scouted them facing Georgia, who has how many first-round talents here. The kid Johnson is such a great threat after the catch. He's behind actually only Deebo Samuel across the last decade in terms of yards after the catch per reception for college, but they've been using him as like a Mike Williams clone, which is not what he's good at. He's not a deep threat that can make those contested grabs. He has deep speed, but only when he's separated. He's much more dangerous when you hit him on screens, when you hit him at the line of scrimmage and let him do his thing. I'm really hoping we get that role for Quentin Johnson moving forward. Either way, they're going to have no choice but to play him. A number 2 option in this explosive pass attack. There is it just gives me kind of Christian Watson vibes of last year. Not this year. I don't want those type of vibes, but a talented first-round type of talent stepping into a major role with a quarterback that can sling. I'm getting good vibes about Johnston the rest of the year. The rest of these receivers are really just desperation bye week guys, but Darnell Mooney, we've seen play well in the past, 14% rostered, and he showed more burst than I think I've seen all year from him, probably in the last 2 years. Seems like he's fully getting himself back to full health. 6 targets, 5 catches, 82 yards, not bad here. We'll just have to see, note that did come from Tyson Bagent, and it does seem like Justin Fields is probably a week away. He's done it with Darnell Mooney in the past before. It's just one of those pretty good explosive talents. You just wonder how much volume is going to be there to go around once Fields is back. And then we talked about the Odell Beckham squeaky wheel. 7 targets, ends up getting greased. 5 catches on those 7 looks, 56 yards and a score. And I said, pass the eyeball test despite a 0 in the box score last week. This week he looked significantly better. there. So that was Darnell Mooney, Odell Beckham. Sorry, I forgot to move through my banners as we go here. Wrapping up with just a handful of tight ends for you. Cade Otton, 5% rostered. Shout out again, my nephew. Streamed this guy, saw it coming, mentioned the Houston matchup, and he couldn't have been more right. 9 targets, team high there. 6 catches, 70 yards, and 2 touchdowns. This is now the 3rd straight game he's seen at least 6 targets, though. So it's not just a 1-week anomaly. Sure, the huge, massive touchdown output is an outlier, but ultimately we've seen Cade Otton. He's actually 5th in tight end routes on the season and has been a highly used piece throughout the year in an offense that's actually pretty solid so far. And last is Jonnu Smith, who had that 61. I mean, this guy is an athletic freak. It just goes to show what were the Patriots doing, signing this guy to a massive contract and then not using him in a way that he could thrive. That 61-yard knifing through the defense, one of the fastest guys for his size. He has a 99th percentile speed score. What a beast. 5 catches, 6 targets, 100 yards. If Drake London's out, I mean, you can toss this guy in at any point. Seems to be getting even more usage than Kyle Pitts at this point is Jonnu Smith. But I would go to Cade Otton first if I had a tight end need. I guess you could mention Ty Chandler, given that Cam Akers did tear the Achilles. But I don't know if I need to back up to a bad running back in an offense that, I don't know, maybe Josh Dobbs will breathe some life into it. And he's the last guy I did want to mention is Josh Dobbs. Had that Konami upside day here, 60 yards on the ground, 3 total touchdowns on the day, over 24 fantasy points. Again, we saw multiple of those efforts for the Cardinals, and now he might be throwing to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. I mean, I could see Josh Dobbs. I didn't even make a banner for the guy as I continue to gush about him here, but that he has all the makings of that like stretch run QB1, comes out of nowhere and just has monster fantasy days. I don't think it will be a ton of certainly not Kirk Cousins 300-yard passing monsters, but with the Konami upside, with the weapons he's going to have, and with a schedule that's really not all that daunting, I think Josh Dobbs, if you're quarterback needy, if you lost Kirk Cousins or there's been tons of injuries at the position lately, and if you're starting garbage, it's been a really rough year at quarterback, Josh Dobbs, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he has a big stretch run. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.